Hey guys, it's Jen and welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be playing with the Melt Cosmetics Impulsive Pressed Pigment Palette. I am really excited to have this. I've been wanting to try Melt Cosmetics for quite some time now. Finally got my hands on this and we're going to go ahead and play with this palette today. I had gone on the website and did a little reading on this palette and it has almost 5 stars. It has mostly really great reviews and a couple of reviews that aren't so stellar and are kind of downright mean. That's neither here nor there, because we're going to find out, and I'm going to tell you guys the truth. Basically, we're going to leave it at that. So what I wanted to share here is something that I read on the site about this palette, and it says, one side of the palette is inspired by the early years of Melt and the friendship between co-founders Laura and Dana that started it all. It showcases cool toned shimmers and holographic foils. The other side features dangerously bold mattes with vivid shimmers inspired by the brand's fun and fearless Melt fam. I love that. That is really cool. So on the Sephora website, it is still on sale and it is retailing for $32.50. Just wanted to share that little bit of information with you guys so that we got a little backstory on what this palette is all about. I feel like just one look is not enough. Just so many beautiful pigments here that I want to create some other looks with this so I can really have a solid opinion on this eyeshadow palette. So I'm going to go ahead and put my hair up, prime my eyes, and we're going to go ahead and do the other looks. You'll be able to see the look that I did. I'll bring it in front. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to figure that out in editing. This is just so you guys can see more than one look, and then I'm going to give you my final thoughts on the eyeshadow palettes. Okay, so eyes are primed and we are ready to hop back into this palette and create 2 more looks with it. And I am excited because I'm really liking this palette. It's just, there's so many inspiring pigments in this eyeshadow palette that I feel like you can create all kinds of looks with this. But again, I have some thoughts on this palette that I'm going to share with you guys at the end. So let's go ahead and create a look on this side, a look on this side, and then we'll chat. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And on this eye, I think on this eye today, I want to play with, let's see if you can see, the greens in this eyeshadow palette and maybe pop that shimmer on there, maybe pop in bottles I'll put on there. That's a really pretty one. So we're going to go ahead and do a green look on this eye, I think, and then maybe something that is more subdued on this side, something that's just more of like maybe an everyday kind of look. But first we're going to start with the greens because super pretty. Now I want to lay down 2012, this more mustardy color, just as a transition shade on the side. And then we're going to go ahead and get green. Yay, green! So I'm going to go into this Game Changer green, and it's a little powdery, it's a little kick up in the pan. We're going to go ahead and place that on the outer portion of my eye. That's pretty light. It's a little lighter than I thought it was going to be. Okay. Let me just go ahead and pat that on there so it has its own little moment. Yeah, much better. Ooh, that is really pretty. But you guys can see how I'm just kind of like patting it on here as opposed to blending it about, because it's very easy to muddy these shades. So you got to kind of work with these eyeshadows in a particular way in order to get them to perform properly, or else it's going to muddy up really quick, and we don't want that. We want to have a nice gradient. We want everything to just play together nicely as opposed to turning into one shade that isn't appealing. Go with that because that's the truth. So I'm just going to continue to pat this on my lid and bring that pigment to this eyeshadow look. Alright, so we got Profesh, and I'm going to place that right there. Again, I'm just tapping it and moving it into the inner portion of my eye. And I'm going to go ahead and go back in with 2012, so I can bring 2012 back to the party, basically. And I'm just going to gently sweep that on the upper part of my eyelid just below the brow bone. And that is the beginning of a very pretty look. All right, exciting, so cool. Okay, so next I'm going to go ahead and grab Pop in Bottles, which is this really pretty champagne-y shimmer shade. And I'm going to just try and place that right there on the inner portion of my eye. Just doing a quick and simple look for you guys so you can see how these perform. That's actually really pretty. So let's grab a brush so I can get a little closer to the inner portion of my eye here. I feel like this shimmer is very suitable to this eyeshadow look. Very gentle, almost like a topper. It's not super pigmented, but it has a nice pop of shimmer to it that I like. And it just brings a pretty look to this eyeshadow. Just going to drag that in a little bit more to the green. Maybe what I'll do is I'll tap a little bit more of this Profesh and bring it a little further into the eye so it makes a little more sense. Got that going on, and now I'm going to go ahead and hop over to this side, this portion of the program. What I'm going to do on the other eye is something that's more of maybe an like everyday kind of look that you can just wear every day. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Rule Breaker, which is like this brick red shade, and I'm going to sweep that into the crease and blend that out quite a bit, actually, because I want to shear this out. And then I'm going to deepen it up a little bit with the shade Bold, which is another kind of warm brown tone. And I'm just going to pop that on the outer corner and sweep that into my crease. So that if you're thinking you want this palette and it's not meant for everyday wear, there are things that you can do that will make it for everyday looks. It's depending on really what you're going for. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go into Warehouse Party. And another thing to note for this particular palette, you want to go ahead and grab the shimmers with a wet brush, or else it's going to be kind of difficult to get them to show up. They will show up, but they have a lot more pop and presence when you wet the brush, just to let you know. So I'm going to go ahead and place that right here on the outer portion of this eyeshadow look and just tap it on the lid. And this is a really pretty gentle brown shimmer, and it gives it more of a foiled look too, so I like that. I don't mind that at all. So we got No Regrets, and I'm going to go ahead and pop that right here on the inner portion of the program. And this one is a little bit crumbly. What I want to do is I just want to deepen up that outer corner just a little bit more. So let's go into Dream Big and Bold, and I'm going to mix those two together. And I'm just going to pop that right here so that it just has a little more of that depth and dimension. All right, so this is where we're at right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hop off camera. I'm going to finish the rest of my face, liner, lashes, hop back on, and then we're going to talk about this palette. Okay. I'll be right back. Okay, and we are back. Lashes and liner are on, and we are going to go ahead and talk about this eyeshadow palette. So we've done a total of 3 looks with this eyeshadow palette, and I'm glad that I did because I have some thoughts. If you are a beginner, you're going to struggle a little bit with this palette, and the reason being is that because it is a pressed pigment, these mattes, although they are lovely, you need to go ahead and use more of a tapping technique as opposed to a blending technique, or else it will muddy very easily and it's not going to come out the way that you want it, and you may find yourself a little frustrated with it if you happen to buy this palette. When I grab an eyeshadow palette, I just start using the mattes and start blending them together. Oftentimes, you know, it works out just fine, but for this particular palette, you're going to have a little bit of trouble. Also with the shimmers, they do not show up right away with a finger or with a dry brush, so you're going to want to wet your brush with these shimmers. Although this is a very beautiful eyeshadow palette and this particular color story really does speak to me, these are colors that I would normally use or gravitate towards, it is a bit of a finicky formula, so it does take a little bit of work. So if you're well versed in eyeshadow and you want to go ahead and do a look for work and you know you're on a time crunch, I wouldn't recommend reaching for this, only because unless you're using maybe 1 or 2 shades, it's going to take you a little time to create a look that you're going for. And this is just my honest opinion from having done 3 looks with this already and just having a little time to play with it. And it's not in any way a bad on this eyeshadow palette. It's beautiful. If you have time to sit down and play with it, you can get really creative with this eyeshadow palette. You can create some very subdued, beautiful looks that are office friendly, going out to dinner. So it is very versatile in that aspect, and the color payoff is absolutely there. So I am not downing this palette in any way, shape, or form. I'm just giving you a little heads up so that if you do think about buying this, you can have some idea of what you're going to be, dealing with before you even pick it up. Now, on the website, it has a lot of mixed reviews, and there were people saying, it's patchy and that it's difficult to blend, and it just wasn't something that was easy to work with. And I can see that perspective, but there were a lot of really stellar reviews on it because the pigment is so lovely and it does show up in a very beautiful way. It's just something that you have to take a little extra time with in order to create something that you're going to actually like and wear. So that would be my main thing that I wanted to say about the eyeshadows themselves. And another thing I wanted to note is that these little plastic darlings that you get in eyeshadow palettes that I often throw away, you're going to want to keep with this, because once you close this, as you can see, these little eyeshadows will start to mesh together and you'll have kind of a mess and have to do a little bit of cleanup in the pans, because they will absolutely meet as you close this eyeshadow palette up. So you're not going to want to throw these out. You're going to want to hold on to them. It's a minor bummer when it comes to an eyeshadow palette. It's just, it's just one of those things I wanted to throw out there. And there is kick up in the pan. It is a bit of a powdery kind of formula, but as far as fallout goes, it wasn't terrible for me. I think the thing that gave me the most fallout were the shimmers. And if you do your eyes first, you're not really going to have any trouble with that. And if you don't mind kick up in the pan, it's not going to be a deal breaker for you. And it's certainly not a deal breaker for me, because I don't mind that it's that type of formula. It's just something that, you might have to do a little cleanup after you go ahead and create an eyeshadow look. But again, it is very versatile. You can create a lot of beautiful looks with this. It is very pigmented and it's lovely. I didn't have any problem with patching. I didn't have any kind of issues whatsoever with it, disappearing in certain areas. I just feel like I had to use a different technique in order to get the eyeshadow look that I was wanting to achieve with this palette. And for me, it's completely fine. But again, for someone who wants something that's no fuss, no muss, this may not be the eyeshadow palette for you. Am I going to continue to play with it and use it? Absolutely. I think that it's great. There are many times that I will sit down and take my time doing my makeup, and it's absolutely lovely. So I have no problem with this purchase. I'm very happy with it. I do want to try some other eyeshadow palettes from Melt Cosmetics and see if maybe they have different formulas, different blendability, that sort of thing. So there are some other eyeshadow palettes that I am curious about and I will be purchasing in the future so that we can hang out and review those as well. But as far as this eyeshadow palette goes, I'm going to say be aware before you go ahead and purchase it that, it is a little on the fussy side. She needs a little bit of TLC and a little bit of effort to go ahead and create a cohesive eyeshadow look. So it's just something that I wanted to let you guys know, because I am honest in what I review and what I try, so that if it's something that doesn't work for you, then I'll save you a couple bucks. But if it's something that you think you might be liking, then, go ahead and get it. So anyway, guys, that is it for today's video. That is it for my review on the Melt Cosmetics Impulsive Pressed Pigment Palette. I hope you guys like the looks I came up with. I hope you like this video. Just want to thank you so much for sticking around and watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you all are safe, and I hope you all are having a beautiful day. Thanks. Bye. I'm getting Harley Quinn vibes right about now. But the thing is with this palette, let me explain. Okay. So here's what happened. My AC just kicked on. I'm like, what was that?
How you fit in here like that?
Why? Do I look like a scary clown that's hiding under your bed at night? and there are many times that I heard a sound. Okay. Alfalfa, where did you come from? Just posing, strike a pose. Send me free shit. That's terrible. I don't really mean that. I kind of mean that.